What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, unified, WBC, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. responds to ESPN and these boxing networks and boxing platforms having undefeated three-division world champion, former undisputed junior welterweight world champion, and current WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Terrence "Bud" Crawford, at #1. Errol Spence lets it be known via social media. He takes to social media and he tells Terrence Crawford, has a message for Terrence Crawford, and tells Terrence Crawford, don't worry, you can hold these rankings for now, because I'll be replacing you very, very soon as we fight. So Errol Spence Jr. lets Terrence Crawford know, I'll be replacing you. He said, we'll be switching spots very, very soon as we fight. Don't worry about it. If you don't know, most of these boxing websites and most of these boxing networks, and ESPN and things of that nature, they have Errol Spence at like, I've seen some have them at 6, some have them at 5, some have them at 3, some have them at 4. But one is consistent, is Terrence "Bud" Crawford is at #1. That's consistent, right? Now, some get ridiculous and they had, Canelo Alvarez at #1, which is not really ridiculous. But then they had Monster Inoue at #2 over Terrence Crawford, which is utterly ridiculous in my opinion. But with that said, this is the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. This is the fight the boxing world, the boxing pundits, the fans are calling for. They want to see Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. and Terrence "Bud" Crawford. Errol Spence said that he definitely have Terrence Crawford in his sights and his crosshairs. He says that he's looking to unify after this fight December 5th against former 2-division world champion, former unified junior welterweight world champion, and former WBC welterweight world champion Danny Swift Garcia, December 5th. He says that after that fight, he's definitely looking to face off against either Manny "Pac-Man" Pacquiao. That's his next fight that he wants to happen next. He wants to fight Manny Pacquiao next. He said that after Manny Pacquiao, he definitely wants to fight Terrence Crawford for undisputed. He said when he has his fight against Terrence "Bud" Crawford, he wants it to be for undisputed. So he says that he definitely wants to have the unification bout against Manny Pacquiao, who's the 8th-division world champion, who is currently the WBA welterweight world champion, and Errol Spence holds the WBC and the IBF. So if he's able to land a Manny Pacquiao fight next year and defeat Manny Pacquiao, he'll be the WBC, IBF, WBA champion going into the Terrence Crawford fight for undisputed, because Terrence Crawford holds the the WBO, excuse me, in which under his post, Terrence "Bud" Crawford's sister responds and says, show us, show and prove, right? He just put the frowning emoji. Errol Spence responded with the frowning emoji. So Errol Spence has been saying that he wants this fight. Like I said, this is the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. It replaced what was the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. That was Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Since both guys have lost, this fight right here has replaced that fight as the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. So with that said, he says that Errol Spence said that he's expecting this fight to happen in 2021. Obviously, he's fighting Danny Garcia December 5th of 2020. So 2 big fights in 2021 could be Manny Pacquiao and Terrence Crawford for Errol Spence. He said that's his game plan. That was how he mapped it out. That's how he sees it. So he says that's what he wants, and hopefully it comes true. Terrence "Bud" Crawford is fighting Special K, Kell Brook, former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer, November 14th. And that's about 3 weeks. 3 weeks from now. No, that's about 4 weeks from now, because this weekend is the 24th. So it's about 4 weeks from now. You'll be getting Kell Brook versus Terrence Crawford. That's the biggest name to date on paper for Terrence "Bud" Crawford. That's a massive fight for Terrence "Bud" Crawford, because I see a lot of people now doubting that Terrence Crawford can beat Kell Brook. After this showdown with Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, I'm seeing a lot of boxing pundits saying that Kell Brook could pull off the upset. I don't see that. I think this is a showcase fight for Terrence Crawford. I think Terrence Crawford is going to put on an absolute masterclass performance. I think he's going to dominate and stop Kell Brook before 9 rounds. I think by the 9th round, this fight will be stopped. I think that Terrence Crawford is too much of a sharp puncher. He's too accurate. He's too active. He's able to switch from southpaw to orthodox. He's too versatile. He's young. He's strong. He's going to prove to be too much of a challenge for Kell Brook. I know Kell Brook is very big welterweight. He's strong welterweight. He has a great skill set. He's great discipline. He has a great jab as well. But that's not going to come in Terrence Crawford. What Terrence Crawford does great is going to offset what Kell Brook did great. Even, we know Kell Brook lost to Errol Spence back in 2017. We know he was also stopped before that against Gennady Triple G Golovkin. But I'm saying even the version of Kell Brook that beat Showtime Shawn Porter, 2-time welterweight world champion, he would get dominated by Terrence Crawford, even before he suffered the 2 losses to Errol Spence and to Gennady Triple G Golovkin, because stylistically, Kell Brook is too stiff and too robotic for a guy with the skill set of Terrence Bud Crawford. So I'm expecting Terrence Bud Crawford to put on an absolute show, especially at this late stage in Kell Brook's career. And like I said, even if this was Kell Brook before the losses, Terrence Crawford puts on a masterclass performance against Kell Brook because he has the ability to fight from the outside, fight on the inside. He's able to fight orthodox southpaw. Just too much versatility. See, Errol Spence, he walked Kell Brook down and eventually broke him down. Kell Brook is very, very stiff. He's very predictable at times. So I'm expecting Terrence Bud Crawford to put on an absolute masterclass performance, showcase his talents, and stop Kell Brook by the 9th round. With that said, obviously, the other big fight we have, because there's 2 parties involved, is the fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Swift Garcia. Now, this is another fight. I'm expecting Danny Swift Garcia to be victorious in this fight because I think that, I'm expecting Errol the True Spence Jr. to be victorious in this fight against Danny Swift Garcia because of the same reasons I mentioned for Terrence Crawford against Kell Brook. Now it's a very much tougher opponent because Danny Garcia has been in much bigger fights as of late. He's more relevant as of late, and he's younger, and he hasn't been stopped. He's lost to Keith Thurman. He's lost to Shawn Porter, but he's never been stopped. He's never been hurt. He's never been dropped in his career. And if he did, it was early in his career, and you never seen Danny Garcia in compromised positions where he's on the verge of getting stopped. But with that said, Errol Spence Jr. is far too versatile. Errol Spence Jr. showed us the ability that he could box from the outside if he so choose. He showed us that he could fight on the inside, obviously, like he did with Kell Brook and broke him down when he boxed against, Mikey Garcia, who was a 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer. He completely outboxed Mikey Garcia. He showed us that he could, fight on the inside against a pressure fighter in the form of Showtime Shawn Porter. So he just showed us versatility. He showed us that he could mix it up against Lamont Peterson. He showed us that he could walk you down and cut the ring off on you like he did Chris Algieri, who Manny Pacquiao wasn't able to do that against Chris Algieri. Ruslan Provodnikov wasn't able to stop Chris Algieri. So he showed us a versatility, right? He showed us the ability to make adjustments. He showed us the ability to fight on the inside, fight on the outside. He showed us ring generalship. So I think Danny Garcia being flat-footed, being a guy that's looking for the left hook, and he's a counterpuncher. He could be too patient. He's very patient, but he could be overly patient, which sees him get behind on the scorecards and have to go for the gusto late in fights. So with that said, I'm expecting Errol Spence Jr. to win this fight 8-4. I'm expecting Terrence Crawford to stop Kell Brook. So this is the fight. I don't see either one of these guys getting upset and upsetting the apple cart. I think that in the next fight is going to be the most, dangerous fight for both guys, as I think that Manny Pacquiao could be very, very tricky, And if Terrence Crawford is the fight to winner, Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez, or possibly face Showtime Sean Porter in his next fight, those are more risky fights than the fights that they're actually in coming up right now. No disrespect to Kell Brook and Danny Garcia, but I think that they're just far too versatile for Kell Brook and Danny Garcia. Oddly enough, Kell Brook and Danny Garcia have similar traits. So, you know, I'm expecting both guys to be victorious. I'm just expecting Errol Spence to be victorious via unanimous decision. I'm expecting Terrence Crawford to get a stoppage victory en route to this massive 50-50 fight between the two of them for undisputed. They're gonna break records. They're gonna do massive pay-per-view numbers. It's gonna be absolutely enormous. So Errol Spence lets Terrence Crawford know I'll be replacing you at the pound-for-pound #1 list very, very soon. But that's all I got for y'all. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. And just so y'all know, I want to show y'all, you know, where Errol Spence did this. He said this on his Twitter. You know, Errol Spence is very active. You know, he holds nothing back. You know, Errol Spence understands what's at stake. So here's what Errol Spence had to say. I don't know if y'all can see it right there. He said, "We'll be switching spots with you very, very soon." You see it right there. So that's all I got for y'all, man. Peace.